The Tracy Arm megatsunami involved 64 million cubic meters of rock. It produced an initial wave 100 meters high and pushed water 481 meters up the opposite wall of the fjord. It was the second largest measured megatsunami in recorded human history, and it occurred 100 miles from a slope in the same corner of Alaska that holds between 455 and 500 million cubic meters of rock that has been slowly moving, continuously, measurably, and without stopping, since at least 1935. Barry Arm is 30 miles northeast of Whittier, Alaska, in the northwestern corner of Prince William Sound. The unstable slope above the fjord is roughly 7 to 8 times the volume of the material that fell into Tracy Arm on August 10, 2025. The multi-agency team of scientists from the USGS NOAA's National Tsunami Warning Center, the Alaska Division of Geological and Geophysical Surveys, and the Alaska Earthquake Center that has been monitoring that slope has just reported that federal staffing changes and budget restrictions have created delays in equipment repairs and service renewals that may have temporary impacts on tsunami hazard awareness and response efforts in the region. The goal that scientists and agencies working in Prince William Sound have been explicitly pursuing, an early warning system capable of alerting people before a landslide occurs, does not yet exist in the United States. The current warning for anyone on the water in Barry Arm, Harriman Fjord, or Port Wells when the slope fails is this: unusual noises from the hillside or the water. Seconds matter. Stop what you are doing. Move to higher ground. That is the complete system. To understand what Prince William Sound already knows about landslide-generated tsunamis, you have to start on March 27, 1964, the afternoon of Good Friday. At 5:36 in the evening, the ground beneath Prince William Sound moved in the largest earthquake in U.S. history. The M9.2 Great Alaska Earthquake lasted 4 minutes and 38 seconds, rupturing 600 miles of fault and generating more than 20 local tsunamis alongside the Pacific-wide wave. The local tsunamis were the deadly ones. They were generated by submarine and subaerial landslides throughout the Sound, arriving at coastal settlements within 2 to 5 minutes of the earthquake's onset. Of the 139 people killed by the 1964 event, 124 died in those local tsunamis. At Valdez, a massive underwater landslide at the head of Port Valdez Delta failed within 20 seconds of the earthquake's onset and sent a wave up to 170 feet high into the inlet. 32 people died. The city was subsequently determined to be too vulnerable to rebuild in its original location, and it was relocated 4 miles west to more stable ground. The relocated Valdez is today the terminus of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, the infrastructure that carries all oil from Alaska's North Slope to tankers in the ice-free harbor, making it one of the most critical energy nodes in North America. At Whittier, a wave 43 feet high struck the town and killed 13 people. The 1964 event proved that in enclosed fjords, landslide-generated tsunamis arrive before any system that relies on earthquake detection can respond. The National Tsunami Warning Center was created as a direct consequence. Barry Arm is 30 miles northeast of Whittier in the same sound. The slope at Barry Arm was first visible in photographs taken in 1935. Over 9 decades, the slope has demonstrated what the Alaska Division of Geological and Geophysical Surveys describes as slow movement, punctuated by episodes of acceleration, a pattern common to large, slowly creeping landslides in glacially destabilized terrain. The Barry Glacier, whose terminus is at the base of the slope, has been retreating under the same climate warming that destabilized the rock above Tracy Arm's South Sawyer Glacier. As the glacier retreats, it removes the buttress that has been pressing against the slope and keeping it in place. The slope above relaxes. Its fractures open. Water infiltrates. The slow movement continues, and periodically the rate increases. The volume of material that could enter Barry Arm Fjord if the slope undergoes catastrophic failure is estimated at 455 to 500 million cubic meters. The original 2020 assessment estimated worst-case waves of 30 feet at Whittier. A 2021 revision using better seafloor data lowered that to 7 feet. That revision is sometimes misread as reassurance. It should not be. The revised report is explicit. The risk remains extreme in Barry Arm itself, in Harriman Fjord, in Port Wells, and in College Fjord. For marine traffic operating in those arms and fjords, the report states that a catastrophic failure would create life-threatening wave hazards with no time to evacuate. The 7-foot estimate at Whittier is what the energy looks like after it has traveled through miles of fjord and dissipated against the geometry of Passage Canal. The energy at the source is something else. After the Tracy Arm megatsunami of August 2025, the Alaska Earthquake Center expanded its response. Researchers, including Ezgi Karasozen, built a new landslide detection system capable of identifying a slide and potential tsunami within a few minutes of the event occurring. That system is reactive. It detects slides that have already occurred and sends signals downstream. It is not predictive. It does not warn that a slope is about to fail before the failure happens. The distinction matters because the wave travel time from Barry Arm to the narrow fjords and marine traffic areas within Prince William Sound is minutes, not hours. Detection after the fact at a place this close would tell rescuers where to look, not give mariners time to escape. And now, the team that has been monitoring Barry Arm is operating with diminished capacity. The Trump administration's budget restrictions, workforce reductions, and changes to federal purchasing and contracting rules have affected the multi-agency monitoring team. Dennis Staley of the USGS described staff layoffs, early retirements, and changes in workforce composition that have affected fieldwork planning. The Alaska Division of Geological and Geophysical Surveys stated formally that these delays may have temporary impacts on tsunami hazard awareness and response efforts in the region. USGS scientists visited Barry Arm on April 2nd for radar maintenance, and NWS crews restored water level monitoring at Whittier in early April. The system is not dark, but it is operating below full capacity. The mechanism behind what Barry Arm's slope is doing is the same mechanism that fell into Tracy Arm last August, and the same mechanism that generated local tsunamis throughout Prince William Sound in 1964. Glaciers are structural elements. They press against slopes and stabilize fractures. When a glacier retreats, the slope it was supporting becomes oversteepened. Water infiltrates the newly exposed fractures. The friction along potential failure planes decreases, and at some point, not calculable in advance, not predictable to a specific date or season, the system crosses a threshold. At Tracy Arm, that threshold crossed on August 10, 2025, at 5:26 in the morning, when nobody was on the water. In Barry Arm, the threshold has not been crossed. The monitoring instruments show slow movement below 50 millimeters per day. The slope is not accelerating. The current season has not produced the specific precipitation and temperature combination that researchers identify as the highest risk window. But that window returns every year in Prince William Sound, and the slope has been approaching it for 90 years. The roughly 272 year-round residents of Whittier live in one building, Baggage Towers, a 14-story condominium that began as a U.S. Army barracks and has served as the town's primary residential structure for decades. The only road access to Whittier is the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, 2.7 miles of combined rail and highway corridor blasted through solid granite, the longest tunnel of its kind in North America. In a tsunami scenario where the wave is 7 feet at the shore and the warning is the sound of rocks falling into a fjord 30 miles away, the tunnel is the evacuation corridor. The time between the initiation of the slide in Barry Arm and the arrival of the wave in Passage Canal is modeled at under 20 minutes. The length of the tunnel alone is 2.7 miles. The marine users are the most directly exposed. Prince William Sound is a working waterway year-round. Alaska Marine Highway ferries, Alaska Railroad connections, cruise ship operations running through Whittier, commercial fishing fleets, charter vessels, kayak tour operators, and recreational watercraft. In the fjords closest to the Barry Arm slope, Barry Arm itself, Harriman Fjord, Port Wells, the USGS revised report is explicit that wave hazards would be life-threatening with no time to evacuate. NOAA's instructions for anyone on the water in Prince William Sound near a landslide hazard zone are the following. When a long or strong earthquake occurs, or when an unusual sea level change is noticed, or when unusual noises from the hillside or the water are heard, do not wait for a warning or siren. Seconds matter. Stop what you are doing. Move to higher ground. There are 3 signals that scientists prioritize in their ongoing assessment of the Barry Arm slope. The first is the movement rate. The baseline of slow, continuous movement below 50 millimeters per day is not cause for immediate alarm. It is the expected state of a slowly creeping slope. Any episode of sustained acceleration above that threshold is the signal that the slope may be approaching a phase of more rapid movement. Historical landslide science shows that accelerating slopes do not always collapse, but catastrophic failures are almost always preceded by acceleration. The second is the weather window. Summer and early fall in Prince William Sound bring the specific combination of high precipitation and above freezing temperatures that researchers identify as the period of highest slope instability. 2026 summer temperatures across the Kenai Peninsula and Prince William Sound region are running above normal. The Barry Glacier is retreating faster than in some previous years. These are not individually alarming conditions. They are the baseline conditions of the current climate in this region. But they are the baseline conditions under which the slope is most likely to accelerate. The third is regional seismicity. Prince William Sound sits above the same subduction zone interface that generated the 1964 M9.2 earthquake. That fault does not disappear. It is accumulating stress. A major earthquake anywhere in Prince William Sound could trigger instantaneous slope failure without any of the gradual acceleration that monitoring equipment is designed to detect. In 1964, the local landslide-generated tsunamis arrived before anyone had time to comprehend what was happening. That physical reality has not changed. The slope is 455 to 500 million cubic meters. It has been moving since 1935. The monitoring team is smaller than it was a year ago. And the wave that Tracy Arm produced from 64 million cubic meters, the second highest megatsunami run-up ever recorded, was a demonstration of what this mechanism does in this region, in fjords that look exactly like the ones surrounding Barry Arm, at a scale that is 7 to 8 times less than what is waiting above the water. Subscribe to stay ahead of what's coming.